Hi everyone. This is the last speak for the Beauty Space A sessions today, and we will be welcoming Charu, Daniel, and Nikhil from Unique Network, and they will be discussing with Brian from Akala about cross-chain NFTs, a think tank. Please welcome Charu, Daniel, and Nikhil.
Thank you, and thank you for staying around till the end of the day. Um, so today's hi, Brian. Thanks for joining.
Hi, everyone.
Great. So we have Brian joining us virtually. Nikhil is here from Zeitgeist on stage, and we have Daniel, our lead XCM NFT developer as well. So the flow of this conversation is I'll introduce the cross-chain NFTs think tank, what that is about. Why do we want participation from the ecosystem? And then we will go over to discuss the NFT cross-chain NFTs use cases a bit more in detail, and then have Brian and Nikhil share their perspectives around their respective NFT transfer and cross-chain NFT use cases. So that's how the conversation will flow. And Brian, you can yeah, we can hear you. If you would like to later on tell us to move the slides during your section, feel free to. I'll have the remote here. So cool. Thank you, everyone. So till December last year, it wasn't possible for NFTs to be transferred cross-chain. And we delivered a POC with Akala, actually NFT transfers between Karura and Quartz. And that we were already working on the NFT XCM proposal with the Treasury that sort of went through later. And part of the proposal was the first milestone was to deliver this POC with Akala, which we did. And there are 3 other milestones. Daniel already talked about where we are in the previous presentations yesterday. And if you'd like, those talks are available. But essentially, OK. Yeah. So a bit of context. Sorry about that. There's a bit of a lag, I guess, on this screen. Cool. So a bit of context that the key value prop for Polkadot has always been around interchain communication and easy and seamless transfer of assets. Now, that was enabled for fungible assets early on, but NFTs were not supported in that, and it requires a different set of work. And the full realization of this interchain communication will be delivered only when we can transfer NFTs as well. So Unique Network took that leadership to do the POC and submitted the proposal to enable this for the entire ecosystem. And we believe that Polkadot's leadership opportunity lies in showcasing capabilities like this and making Polkadot the first chain of choice when it comes to NFTs. And I talked about this yesterday, but essentially we need to do various things to come together as an ecosystem, and this is one of those. Now, there are various challenges when it comes particularly to transferring NFTs. Because with XCM, you can easily transfer the fungible tokens. But when it comes to NFTs, one of the challenges is that the fungibility of the multi-asset XCM parameter, it identifies the fungible assets, but not the non-fungible asset, because there's an amount associated with it. And that leads to other issues as well. So for NFTs to be identified as an asset, there has to be some additional work done. The NFT collection registration on the destination chain and the chain of origination, those have to recognize each other one-on-one. And that applies for identifying the NFTs in the chain of origination in an unambiguous way as well. So those are the challenges that exist because of which we submitted this proposal, and the XNFT palette is meant to address some of those. And then the other challenge is around fee identification mechanism. So with XCM for fungible tokens, the fee is, it initiates with transferring a certain amount of fee, and then it's sort of deducted and the balance is returned. But when it comes to NFT, if the fee is not sufficient, then the asset could get trapped. So it requires fee estimation at both the ends to enable the NFT transfer. So that's where what Daniel mentioned in his talk around the payment APIs, the fee estimation, that's where all those elements come in. So to address these challenges is what's technically enabled in the proposal. And these are the milestones. Again, I won't go through these, but there is a very detailed talk by Daniel, which you can refer to in case you are looking at the milestones and what will be done when. At a high level, the requirements are that we aim that what we build, the XNFT palette and other capabilities around it, should work for all parachains. We will be focusing on substrate NFT palettes, and their priorities defined in the proposal. We were also planning to do some research, not any implementations around ink, but we'll have to reconsider that given that ink may not be a priority. So the only thing that we want to assess is and understand, working with parachains, what is the tech stack on the other parachain that we will allow the communication between Unique Network and the other parachain, or between any two parachains. So, well, I'll get to what all of this means, but essentially through this conversation, we are asking for inputs, feedback, questions, any interest in NFT transfers from parachain teams. And so as the technical milestones are being delivered, there is a need for us to create, design use cases that will deliver the message that cross-chain NFTs and NFT transfers are possible in the ecosystem. So we need use cases and case studies for cross-chain NFTs to work. And that's the reason we are sort of putting together a cross-chain NFTs think tank. So this supports the proposal. This is not, this effort is sort of runs parallel to the proposal. We would love to establish Polkadot as the most advanced ecosystem for interoperable NFTs. The think tank will focus on researching, identifying, conceptualizing, and designing use cases with other parachains for NFT transfers. And this would be across like DeFi parachains, gaming parachains, any other parachains, wherever there is a business case to enable NFT transfers. There are a few key priorities that we will be focused on through this think tank. And one is outreach to different parachains, and this is why we have Brian and Nikhil today. So we reached out to them and understood that there was a need for NFT transfers. We continue to do this through the year with other parachains, and I have also posted on Polkadot Open Forum. For any interest, feel free to leave your comments there. So that's one part. Then there will be, as we identify or gather interest, we will be designing use cases with our initial conversations with Akala and Zeitgeist, and a few more conversations that I had here at the event. We've sort of defined an approach to create these use cases. It's still an early draft. As we learn, we'll keep working on it. Once we identify these use cases, the idea is to assess the functional requirements, the technical requirements, assess the gaps at both the ends, and create designs and implementation plans. And then the other thing would be, as we deliver these use cases, it's important to let the ecosystem know, let the communities outside of the ecosystem know about these use cases, so that they are excited about all things happening in NFTs and Polkadot, and publish case studies, work with marketing and media agencies, decentralized agencies in the ecosystem, and get the word out. So those will be the three priorities for the think tank. And it will be delivered through sort of three programs we've thought of at a high level. cross-chain NFT workshops. So right now is more a presentation, but going forward, the idea is to run them as workshops, gather feedback, invite more parachains to sort of a roundtable discussion, and discuss challenges, gaps, and issues. Publish the outcomes of each workshop. After this workshop, we will publish, of course, an introduction to the think tank. We'll publish the high-level thinking around use cases with Akala and Zeitgeist. And then one of the things that we would love to do is take this message out as our thinking and our use cases are more mature in this space, or we've delivered a few. We would love to be able to showcase this at different industry events, because that's when we establish the key message around Polkadot being the leading ecosystem. So that's what we call the first. This is sort of the first workshop or discussion on the cross-chain NFT use cases. Okay, this is a bit right. So as I mentioned, that after initial discussions, this is how we are approaching any cross-chain NFT use cases. We would first like to start with the high-level business objectives. Why are we doing this? Why is the transfer needed? What is the desired outcome by the other parachain who would like to explore this? Identify the type of use case. Does the NFT need to be transferred from unique or from the other parachain? Do they need to be transferred back? Is there going to be any cross-chain NFT communication? I would like to add one thing, that all of this approach it won't be very restricted to the scope of the proposal. If there are elements that are beyond the scope of the proposal, we will have to find a way to make it work together or identify solutions for it. But for something that's in the scope of the proposal, technically, we'll help deliver that. But this think tank is also meant to gather requirements for what's missing in the proposal or what's needed going forward. So that's where identifying the type of use cases will help. And then once you do that, the intention is to define the functional requirements. And the functional requirements can be very different, but they essentially can be categorized in these sections. How are the NFTs issued and represented? Are they issued on the unique chain or the other parachain? How are their attributes managed? If there are any user-initiated transactions and there is a change in attributes required, some sort of dynamic NFTs or customizable NFTs, how will that work cross-chain? What are the gas fee considerations? Which tokens are required to pay gas fee in both the chains? What are the user interface requirements? And that's something Brian may also mention as an example. What do users need to do at the other parachain interface or unique to be able to trigger a transfer, or to be able to trigger any changes in the NFT or changes in the ownership and so on? So it's the UI and UX requirements will differ from case to case, depending on the business objective, depending on the interface that exists right now, depending on the user requirements. So we are looking at these elements to understand the requirements for Akala and Zeitgeist at the moment. And so this is at a very high level. I'll pass it on to Daniil now to discuss the type, a bit more technical details on the type of use cases, and then we will go on to discuss Akala and Zeitgeist.
Okay.
Do you need this?
Yeah. Thanks, Charu. A small note, though, about the NFT identification. It is already possible to identify an NFT with XCM. We actually use this in our proof of concept. However, we need to simplify the process of registration of foreign NFT assets. So yeah, that's one of the things that we need to simplify. Okay, let me talk about what types of use cases we have conceptually with the XCM NFTs. Firstly, we have the use case of transferring the ownership rights. In our proposal, we consider the only usage of the reserve-based module, so it's truly only about transferring the ownership rights, not the NFT object itself. Using the reserve-based module, communicating chains don't have to trust each other. They only only the reserve chain must be trusted by all parties. In practice, I believe the reserve chain will be the chain where an NFT is originally minted. Well, it's similar how it works for fungibles at the moment. Let's see what this use case looks like with NFTs. Suppose we have two chains. Suppose Alice owns an NFT on the reserve chain. Then she initiates the cross-chain transfer of this NFT to another chain. After that, the NFT will be transferred to another chain's sovereign account. The sovereign account is just an account on the reserve chain. It is just controlled by another chain. Of course, another chain gets notified about this. I mean, yeah. It receives the corresponding XCM program, and it is supposed to mint a derivative NFT corresponding to the original one on the reserve chain. This derivative NFT represents the ownership right of the original NFT. The derivative can be deposited to a user account on another chain, or a palettes account, or a smart contract, or whatever entity another chain has. Since a derivative NFT is just an NFT on another chain, it can participate in all activities there. For instance, a derivative can participate in NFT nesting or NFT fractionalizing. If the reserve chain does not provide such functionality, it makes sense to transfer an NFT from the reserve chain to another chain where such things are possible. Also, a derivative could be used as collateral, or as a governance or privilege ticket, or as a role, or something else. NFTs can represent many kinds of objects, so with unusual logic. The second thing about the use cases is that we can separate ownership transfers and metadata communication between chains by considering only the reserve-based module. So these two things become entirely different use cases, because the NFT will always be located on the reserve chain with all its data intact. It doesn't matter who owns it. Also, it doesn't matter how the ownership right is represented directly on the originating chain or via a derivative NFT on another chain. So, yeah, we authored a preliminary version of XCM asset metadata RFC to define what asset metadata is in XCM and what operations should be defined for it in XCM. We expect this RFC to be finalized in the end of this year. Note, however, that it is an RFC, not the actual implementation of metadata communication. The implementation is the next step and is not part of the current XCM NFT effort. It should open up a much greater number of use cases, since we will be able to track NFT state on the reserve chain. Also, we will be able to request the reserve chain to update some of the NFT attributes. Basically, having the metadata communication turns NFTs into shared on-chain variables. We will be able to use them as structured communication channels or as interfaces to the chain's internal structures. Basically, the notion of an NFT begins to resemble the notion of a file in Unix systems. However, again, it is not yet even defined. But if you're interested in the hypothetical use cases of metadata communication, please check out the sub0 2023 presentation. We are now focused on cross-chain NFT transfers because they are basic functionality. The notion of ownership is inherent to NFTs, as it is inherent to files. But we don't even have this basic functionality right now in the ecosystem. Currently, the only working cross-chain NFT transfer can be done between Quartz and Karura, and it is only a proof of concept version. So we need to make a normal version of this. Also, as I said yesterday at the conference, we need a mechanism to avoid trapping NFT assets and a fee estimation API. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. We also needed JavaScript toolings, smart contract platform integration, and so on. That's why we suggest starting small, start with basic functionality, prepare the cross-chain NFT infrastructure, and then proceed to metadata communication. So motivated by the need to discuss the cross-chain transfers first. I suggest we discuss them together today. Let's think about what concrete use cases we could come up with what NFT functionality of our parachains can be offered for NFTs from other chains. Yeah.
Thanks, Daniel. I think we can go on to the next slide. And we now have Brian. Brian, if you can hear us. Okay. Over to you, Brian. Thank you.
So I would like to talk about the NFT use cases of Akala. So let's start first, like very simple and basics ones. They're basically NFT transfers. So Akala initially have issued a few collection of NFTs for the early participants of the crowd adapters. And then, so one of the easy use case will be simply got those NFT transfers to the unique and then leverage the marketplace over there. So people can trade there. And then, well, with NFT able to exit and transfer to other parachains, then whatever additional NFT functionalities other parachain offers, then people will be able to use those things with the existing NFTs. So this is just the very basic use cases. It's nice to have, but nothing really exciting. What's more interesting is about some potentially new use cases. For example, on Akala EVM Plus, we are able to combine the EVMs and the runtime parlors together. So in that way, so we're already currently supporting, for example, XCM transfer and ERC20 tokens, including user deployed as well as bridged over the Ethereum, for example. So the same thing applies for the NFT as well. So people can deploy ERC 721 NFTs and then XCM transfer to unique, or they can take existing NFT, for example, for Ethereum, using one-hole bridge, transfer to Akala, and then transfer to unique. One thing I would highlight is that this sounds like you need to using two bridge multiple transitions. Sounds like not very user friendly, but we already developed a product called a router that is able to allow users on Ethereum making a single transaction, signed and sent on Ethereum, paying some ETH for the fees, and then some magic happens. Basically, some smart contracts will be executed on Akala, involved by relayer paying for the fees, and then to route the NFTs to the destination chains, which could be the unique network. So with a single transaction, unique network does not need to have a bridge connecting to Ethereum directly, for example, but people will be able to transfer them using the one-hole bridge on Akala. So hopefully this can also bring up some more interesting use cases. But again, that is still nothing really new. So what I'm looking for is tokenized additional assets, because there are a lot of assets that are non-fungible and their assets worth something. So, well, they are non-fungible assets. But most of the time, they are not really represented as NFT. They are just, for example, if you participate governance, you can do conversion voting to vote, to lock your tokens for a period of time to getting additional voting powers. And then, well, your token are locked. So they are assets. They are, well, non-fungible in some way. For example, token locked with 24 days, well, cannot be fungible with token locked for 12 days. And then they are right now illiquid. They just locked there. You cannot do anything with it other than waiting for the unlocking period to be finished and then unlock them. But with the ability to tokenize those locked positions, then they can become an NFT, and then you will be able to, well, trade them, for example. And then the buyers will know, oh, this say, for example, $50 is being locked for 12 days. And then they can easily figure out the current value of those $12, $50, and then figure out a good price to buy them right now. So this will, for example, could potentially encourage people to participate governance more because the fear of having token locked will be reduced. They'll know they could be reasonably sell those locked positions with a reasonable value. Another example would be similar for the governance. There was some initiative from the community who would like to set up some decision deposit multi-sig because to submit root trap governance on Polkadot, it requires a sizable deposit. That deposit could be slashed if the referenda is concluded as malicious and the community could slash them. So people might not want to just say offer the decision deposit for any proposals because there's potential of slash. But if we can package them as NFTs, then the problem is kind of solved because people who purchase or want to get hold of this NFT will know there's this decision deposit for this referenda, which while they'll look, that's definitely not going to be slashed, then they will pilot. If we say that's definitely going to get slashed, then well, they will just value it as zero. So it's just some simple examples that could make allow the tokenized assets with many existing protocols to change the dynamics of them. Another thing I would highlight is that at Akala, we actually spent quite a effort on this a few years ago, but never actually launched it. It's tokenized pure proxy account because pure proxy account in some way is basically an NFT that doesn't actually come from any NFT standards, but it's something that can be transferred. It's a container that can holding assets. You can set up your proxy, use it to stake, and then you can transfer ownership of your proxy. In that way, you are able to transfer the stake asset without unstake them. So this has some advantages in many use cases. So if we can make this pure proxy account conforming to NFT standards, then we can package them as NFTs, and then we can again trade them or use it, for example, lending protocols maybe, in many other additional protocols. And then because the pure proxy account is just an account that can hold anything, it's just a normal account, well, not normal account, it's just account, a special account that can be in some way packaged as NFT. So this will allow many interesting use cases to be implemented with the ability to make assets as NFTs and then using XCM to transfer those NFTs across different projects and then allow different projects their own capability of those NFT features to be built on top of those NFT assets. So that's all my part for the day.
Thank you, Brian. And we will, so this is great. I mean, early use cases is something that we'll start to work on right away, but all the other new concepts is exciting, and we look forward to designing and implementing these at some point soon. We'll thank you, Brian. If there are any questions, we'll let you know. So the next use case is Zeitgeist. Nikhil is here, and we'll talk about the early exploratory discussions.
Yeah. As far as NFT use case is concerned for our prediction market protocol, I want to bring you a concept, tell you more about where we stand and what we are looking at. So we had season 1 rewards where we were rewarding traders based on how they are trading or whether they are providing liquidity or how many markets they are creating. And on Remark. So season 1 rewards were on Remark, and with Remark moving towards more EVM solutions, it kind of would be a hacky solution to work on the existing framework that they have. So we kind of eyeing to new solutions, and unique network seems to be an impressive solution for us, mainly because of the 3 reasons. First one, that they are substrate based. So all the events and palettes that they have would be easily migrated from Remark, would be easily seamless for us. Second is that they have a low level building blocks, which kind of helps us to, connect one NFT to the another or modify the attributes as per our requirements, which I think Daniel and Charu talked about it. And third, the main reason that we would be easily able to transfer the existing NFTs that we had in season 1 to Unique, because they kind of support the current feature set and probably beyond. Yeah. So it's kind of initial stages for both of us, and we are equally excited about the journey.
Great, thanks, Nikhil. So with Zeitgeist, we are still exploring and assessing the functional requirements. The technical assessment is being conducted on both the sides. And that's the whole idea about these discussions. We are gathering interest of any identifiable NFT transfer use cases for your parachain. So you can either reach out to us or drop a note on the forum. We posted this, just a description about the workshop and our intention to take this forward to all the Polkadot events and bring more parachains to participate in this and share their ideas. So that's where you can post or reach out to us. Any questions now, feel free to ask. Any questions for Brian or for Nikhil or Daniel or me? All right, I guess we have no questions. So thank you so much, Brian. Thanks for joining us virtually. And thank you, Nikhil. We'll continue to deliver on these use cases. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.